We have to go to the root. We have to go to the cause. Dealing with the condition itself is not enough.
So, Africanness. Who can claim to be African? Are you African just because you were born on the continent? Are you African just because your family traces back a few generations and you've been there for a number of years, right? Are you African because maybe you have an ethnic relation, right? You can trace yourself back to one of the ethnic groups. The reason why I asked this question is because I came across this post on social media. This one guy, I can't remember his name, and I can't even find the post, to be honest. But he was basically talking about how there is this idea of a hierarchy of Africanness, and that the only people who can actually be African are people who are black, right? And so he was saying that this isn't true. He was coming from the perspective that this actually isn't true, and that Afrikaner or Boer people can actually lay a claim to being African. Now, I wanted to ask you that question because this is a very, very important question, because when we're talking about what it means to be African, it's a question of identity. It's a question of belonging. It's a question of culture. It's a question of what you trace your values back to, right? And so what do you define as being African? Now, I asked my dad this question a few weekends ago, and I said to him, Dad, how would you define what it means to be African in this day and age? And he goes to me, the way you define someone as African is if they can trace, or if they were born in a country and they could trace their history to it. And so I asked him and I said, okay, so if I'm black, and me being black, and my family supposedly, maybe what if we lived in China, right? And we'd been in China a number of generations, would that make me African? And he went, no. And so I said to him, so what's the story there then? Because by your own definition, right, I can't, I can lay claim to being Chinese, yet you just said I can't be Chinese, even though my family's been in China for a few different generations. And so it got him thinking. And so, yeah, I mean, the rest of the conversation, it was interesting, to put it that way. But I want to ask you that question because I think it's a very, very important one. And for me, I almost want to say that there's not a right or wrong answer, but that wouldn't be correct because there definitely is a right answer. I guess it just depends on what your perspective is, right? Some people take the perspective of a post-colonial mindset, which is, because now we have colonial borders and we all have citizenships across colonial lines. If I'm born into a particular country, I can trace myself to that country, but I can also trace myself to the wider continent. Now, whether you agree with it or not, some people subscribe to that idea. The other perspective is people who develop or who have taken on a pre-colonial mindset, which is before the colonial borders arrived, we had ethnic groups. Now, because of migration, different ethnic groups found themselves across different bits of land across the continent. But for the most part, if you trace back to one of the ethnic groups that comes from the continent, then you can lay claim to being African, right? And so these are the two schools of thought. And I don't want to give my opinion yet. I might do that in the next video, but I wanted to find out what you guys think. I wanted to find out what your thoughts are. And yeah, I just want to sign out this video by thanking you once again for clicking onto the video. Please share, subscribe, please like, please do all of that good stuff because I want us to have some really, really in-depth conversations. So just to kind of let you know the things that I've got planned for this channel, we're going to be talking about topics like this, what it means to be African. And I've got a few more things that I want to say about this topic and we'll address those. I've got book reviews, I've got current affairs, I've got politics across the continent. Listen, there's like 55, 56 countries to look at, and to break down. And so we've got a lot of conversations that we need to have. And so if you love this kind of content, you love this kind of stuff, if you want to challenge yourself, challenge the prevailing ideas that are out there about our continent, come, let's talk about it. I want to develop a community where we can have more and more of this. And so, yeah, One more thing, follow me on social media. I'm on X. If you're on X, type in Roots and Reason, and you'll find me there. And I think I've got a link in the description somewhere. So shout out to you guys. Thank you so much. I know I'm talking a lot, and this video has been in the long time coming, but we're finally here. So yeah, join with me, and we'll see where we take this. Yeah, peace.